Hey, hello again. Welcome to the workshop of Wood Upon the Sea. Been a little busy. Working on the Perry is still ongoing. It's doing a lot of sanding and rubbing, but given the dead time and stuff, I also started this. It was a Shavrov SH2. It's a Russian amphibious plane. I showed you the base plate for this in the previous videos. As the sample, it's a 1/72 kit. I've already started cutting out some pieces, and what I wanted to talk about today is glue. Lots of glue, lots of different types of glue for different things. Today I'm going to be focusing on Tamiya extra thin cement and Loctite super glue. There's purposes for all of them, and later on I'm also going to be showing you a different video. A big go-to one is the Plasti Weld that I use a lot with a very special applicator. So those growing up with plastic models remember the, let's see, I think I still have some up here. Let's see, it's all put away. When you talk plastic modeling, everybody remembers the old Testor's glob and glue. It's got a lot more sophisticated particulars. So I just want to show you a little bit of how things have changed and what's going on. So here's two pieces. I don't know if you can see, very, very thin. In sanding this out before you glue, you want to make sure everything's clean. Don't tell Anna doesn't come along here that much, but instead of discarding those brushes or clean brushes, see if any hobbyists in the area would like them. So I'm cleaning any dirt residue that could potentially be in these pieces. For this, I'm using extra thin cement. Now before, with the Testor's glue, you always had to practice putting glue on one piece and how do you put it together, and the glue would dribble out and you get thumbprints everywhere, and generally it's much more of a mess. So what is this new sophisticated method? Easy. You put the piece together, you clamp it however you want. In this case I'm just going to hold it. It's small enough I can. The seam is there. It's basically invisible for the two joints. I take the cement, which is on this small applicator brush, and I rub it around the edge. Through capillary action, that cement has been sucked into the seam, even though I can't see it. It's basically giving just the right amount of glue into the seam. It's melting both faces and causing those two areas to weld. So I just got to hold this for 10, I overdo it. I do 20 seconds, and it should be fully set up in an hour or so. And the joint is clean and ready to go. See, I can even, oops, these, it just released on the edge here. I don't know how much it got, so we're just going to put a little extra. Now I'm going to go ahead also and wipe the end part here in the in-between. So as I continue to hold the end, I'll now hold this. And this is where the tunes come in. Think about your next steps. Do whatever you want. But it's a real nice gadget. You don't get the globs of glue. You don't have to worry about it because you pre-clamp everything and then brush in. When I use the Tamiya paint in this application with the brush because there's no hard edge to go up against. When I have a right angle or a 45 degree, I use the Plasti Weld in that situation, which I think has a more controlled flow. But see, now I can release and it's stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the back end of this. So again, you just brush on. Not a tremendous amount. You don't want it overflowing. Buckle that up. Hold for 10 to 20. And then this piece will be done. So likewise, this was glued. You can see here's one of the upper wing sections and the middle wing section. So these go together, and there's another one. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to join these two sections so you have a good seam, strong joint, as well as correct angles I'm dealing with. So this is now done. There's one little piece there, so I am going to go to the old standby from growing up. And it doesn't want to hold real well right there, so we're going to just smack this again. Again, you can't see the glue, so you assume the glue has gone in. The next part I want to glue is these tiny floats. It's always interesting when you talk 1/72 from a person like myself. I used to have no problem with the 1/72. Now I'm starting to see my eyeballs are going a little batty. So here's the float we're about to make and a wing section. and these are going to go together. Now, unlike modern kits, you know, there's not a super tight fit. It fits. We're going to have a lot of seam filler to go in there, but that's a mini wing. So we're going to have a lot of sanding on this thing to deal with, and gaps to fill. But that's a next step, and that's where the super glue comes in. So next I want to take this piece, the second float, and if I can get it together with my big fingers, I'm going to do the area that's seen more, which is this. Make sure it's perfectly aligned. I can take it and just run the brush right along the seam. If perchance you get too much glue and you see a splurt, a bubble or something, this is where you have to really be patient and say, you know what, just leave it. You let it dry. Basically, most of this is going to evaporate off. You'll end up with a little tiny bubble, but the surface is essentially going to be the same. You hit it with some 600 grit sandpaper and there'll be no traces of it. If you touch it, you're going to deal with a top layer of plastic that has essentially melted, and you're going to then spread it around and you're going to have a mess on your hands. So that's now pretty much set. So we're going to continue with the top. Again, I drab off the excess. Hold this for 10 seconds. You can see it open because I hadn't finished it yet. Hold this for 10 seconds. And it should be good. Usually I have tunes playing, but given the volume here, I hope also that the I have a handy hole here. I hope the lighting is better. I went through a lot of different trials and errors trying to figure out the optimal lighting. I think I have it now. I was going way too bright before. This is a little too much power, so that's why I like holding it. So I think we have a good, we can deal with the rest. So again, in this regards, this goes here. I don't know if you can see it. There's an indent in this piece. This piece slides on. However, you're dealing with a lot of stuff. The first thing is you want to make sure this seam here is as flat as possible, and given it's an indent and hard, I'm just going to go ahead and use my knife and clean that out as best as possible. So once I have that, I go back to my brush, clean it off, make sure there's no debris in there. We check the joint and make sure, like for instance, there's a little tiny, I don't know if you can hear, a piece of plastic sticking out. So now we sample the fit and say, okay, that goes. I see how that goes. I'm comfortable with how that is dealing with. So now I use my super glue. This is a gel based. It's not liquid, so it's not going to run over the place. It's a gap filling, except I put way too much. Brand new carton. Let me get some of this off. So likewise, super glue definitely sticks to skin. That's the first thing it does. I can already feel this grabbing. So this is a gap filling. Let me put the cap on to keep it as long as possible. This is a Loctite Super Gel Gel Control. It's a medium weight gap filling, so it doesn't run into every porous area. It's a little thicker. In cases like this where the joint is essentially hidden, you're okay. Again, I'm going to hit a lot of this with that, but that's now glued up. So I now have super glue where I have perhaps gaps to fill, because this will definitely not bridge gaps. So it has to be a real tight fit, but seams, you have this when you have more of a gap and you're trying to work with these pieces. There's a lot of sanding in my future, but again, I'm now getting these pieces parts. So one other thing, if I look here, wrong one. So this piece connects onto the fuselage right there. So my fuselages are all cut out. In this case, though, I still have a lot of work to do on the cockpit on the inside, which has to be fully fashioned and in. The cockpit essentially straddles right where this wing connects. So normally I would put a rod straight through the fuselage. I can't do that. I'm going to put a small plastic rod in here, make a hole in the fuselage, join it for a stronger join. I have those plastic rods on order, and I'll get them on Monday. So that's something to do. But hopefully you can see a little bit what's going on. I will also state that given the engine that came with this kit, you're sort of reaching the extremes of vacuum form. Vacuum form is great for stuff like this. 1/72, you're starting to push it, and the detail required on an engine like this is you're getting pretty blobby. So I am looking into secondary sources for, and potentially a photo etch replacement to produce a very accurate engine on this. So I will put this as a backdrop, but again, this wing is up aboard. This is a folded back wing, which is kind of on this one, but the engine is front and center. So you have the plane here, the wing up on top, and then these smaller wings on the bottom. The engine is almost all exposed. It's the first thing you see on this plane, so you need to make it something special for this to pick out. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully we'll have more in the future. Bye.